You're listening to the John DePetro Show, folks. It's AM 1380, 99.9 FM. Remember, you can always listen online at our website, DePetro.com. There's an interesting story that's taking place in Worcester. And joining us right now, we've spoke to him in the past. He is terrific. The National Right to Work Foundation's Mark Mix. And Mark, as we're speaking, first of all, Happy New Year. And right now, as we're speaking, there are people certainly in the Worcester area that are going to listen to our conversation. So if you would be so kind as to break it down for us.
Yeah, John, Happy New Year to you. And the news keeps coming in despite the changing of the calendar. But, the foundation, the National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation, provides free legal aid to employees whose rights have been violated by forced unionism arrangements. And interestingly enough, our staff attorneys are representing employees up in Worcester at the St. Vincents Hospital system that have basically just come back from what was a 300-day plus strike that was called by the Massachusetts Nurses Association. And it looks like, based on what we understand right now, the National Labor Relations Board has validated a petition filed by workers at St. Vincent's to try to decertify the union that represents them. And it's an interesting scenario because way back in early this year, as the strike began, we let workers know what their rights were vis-a-vis, crossing a picket line or supporting the strike or whatever it is they chose to do individually. And that manifests itself now in workers signing a petition that went to the National Labor Relations Board that will allow them to vote on whether or not this nurses union, can continue to represent them in the workplace. And so this is an ongoing story that continues, but the impact of that 300-day plus strike up in Worcester has been bad, very difficult. It's divided the workplace, it's divided the community, and frankly, at the end of the day, even though a new contract was ratified 2 days ago, there are workers that are still very unhappy about being out on the picket line or being forced out on the picket line by union officials for all that time this past year.
Folks, again, we're speaking with Mark Mix, National Right to Work Foundation. And Mark, this has been going on. It also shows that, you would think that in a pandemic and what's going on with COVID, that a lot of this stuff would be put aside, but that's just not the way they operate.
Yeah, and, obviously those were some of the issues that were involved in the strike, but it was basically about the Massachusetts Nurses Association being able to maintain their monopoly power over all the workers. And what we found, John, in the healthcare industry is that there are a lot of nurses, and we've represented nurses all across the country in various situations like this, when a union has said, look, you got to go out on strike. And there are nurses that believe very, 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 very emotionally in the care of their patients, and they want to cross the picket line. But it's interesting because there are so many traps set for workers that want to continue serving their patients, notwithstanding a labor dispute and a walkout. And what happens is they cross the picket line, and the next thing you know, they get a letter in the mail from the union saying, hey, by the way, you've been fined, $1,000, $10,000. We've had fines up to $40,000 for employees who have actually said, no, I want to go to work. I'm more interested in being on the floor helping my patients than I am walking a picket line for issues that are basically about giving the union officials more power over the workplace.
Folks, again, we're speaking with Mark Mix, and this is National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation, and these are the nurse at St. Vincent Hospital right there in Worcester. And again, hello, and everyone in Worcester that is listening to us is certainly aware of this, that this has been going on. Now, Mark, as much as we're talking about this, I would be remiss if I didn't get your reaction to what's playing out in Chicago right now as these teachers unions are absolutely refusing to go back into the classroom, even though the mayor's pleading with them and everyone has shown that children are safest in school.
Yeah, John, this is another ongoing disaster that's occurring. But the silver lining in all this, and I don't mean to downplay the impact on the children and the impact on, those folks and those parents out there that are paying, tax dollars to support a school system that's not educating their children. But the bottom line here is that people across the nation, and Chicago may be the, quote, boiling point today about this. Loudoun County, Virginia was the boiling point back in November and October of last year when, they exposed the power of the teachers unions over the school system, the government school system in America. And Chicago, this latest example is just another example of the devastating power that union officials, a radical group of union officials, not the teachers in the classroom for the most part, but the radical union officials that have taken control of these monopoly institutions that basically insert themselves between parents and school boards, parents and city councils, parents and county commissions, parents and elected officials, and basically say, you do it our way, otherwise we're going to withhold this governmental service. And, you know, I think, John, the one thing that's going to happen here is the teacher union bosses here in Washington, D.C., and Randy Weingarten up in New York City have way overplayed their hand, and parents are beginning to pay attention. And I think there's going to be a dramatic change in how, city councils and county commissions and school boards deal with union officials going forward. And Chicago is just the latest flare-up in that.
Folks, again, it's National Right to Work Foundation. It's Mark Mix. Mark, if you wouldn't mind, I'm sure I'm going to be talking to you quite a bit in 2022. If you'd give just some information, people can learn more about the organization.
Yeah, the National Right to Work Foundation has been around since 1968. We have 21 staff attorneys that do nothing but represent employees for free. We provide free legal services when they have come up against the compelled power of organized labor, whether it be in the private sector or in the public sector. We have litigated 18 times at the U.S. Supreme Court, and employees can get questions answered by an attorney about their workplace rights, and they can find us on the internet at www.nrtw.org, nrtw.org. They can call 1-800-336-3600 and talk with an attorney about their situation in the workplace. Or they can find us on the internet as well, and Facebook and all those other platforms out there.